Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on the Right View Ladies Tea. We are joined tonight by contributing writer for the Media Research Center TV, Stephanie Hamill. Welcome back, Stephanie. And AFPI ambassador, former Miss California, and first runner-up for Miss USA, Carrie Prejean. Stephanie and Carrie, thank you so much for joining us. Love having you both. This is a good group, and we got a lot to cover because we got a little report, the Durham report, finally, years in the making, ladies. I don't know why it couldn't have come out, I don't know, say maybe in 2020 or 2019, but finally we got this week the Durham report, and basically it told us all what we already knew, which is that the FBI interfered in the 2016 election. And I don't think there are any two ways about it. They knew from the beginning that there was no collusion with Russia, but as it related to the Trump campaign or my father-in-law. They knew that all the information that they were operating off of was bogus, and they still went forward. And let me just read to you some of what this report said. Durham said his investigation also revealed that senior FBI personnel displayed a serious lack of analytical rigor towards the information that they received. You think? Especially information received from politically affiliated persons or entities. I'll remind you that was Hillary Clinton and the Clinton campaign. This information in part triggered and sustained a crossfire hurricane and contributed to the subsequent need for special counsel Mueller's investigation. I'll remind people that it was $20 million, that investigation of our taxpayer money. In particular, there was significant reliance on investigative leads provided or funded by Trump's political opponents. Stephanie, this is something we all knew. It is now confirmed. And I think for so many of us, we say, how can we actually trust our fundamental institutions, something like the FBI that's supposed to be out there looking out for us as citizens? They're supposed to be arresting criminals. This is what they were doing with their time, energy, and effort. It is shocking, but we all knew that this is what happened.
Yeah, this bombshell revelation really isn't a bombshell because it's exactly what we all have been saying over the past few years, that President Trump didn't collude with the Russians. And the people in his inner circle weren't colluding with the Russians. And as you pointed out, I mean, the American people are going to have a lack of faith in our government institutions because this isn't a one-off. This keeps happening over and over and over again. And, you know, I don't want to smear everyone at the FBI. There are hardworking people there, but there are certainly some bad actors. And unfortunately, what we see is that oftentimes they're not punished. It's just kind of like, you know, business as usual the next day after we find out all of these things. And so we know that there were people in the FBI who were eager to take down President Trump and people in his inner circle for political reasons. And, you know, it's just totally ludicrous what has gone on there. And it's like they need to completely restart, get all these bad people out of there so that the American people can trust our government institutions again.
Well, yeah. And I think the problem is, where do we go from here? Actually, in his report, Durham did not say that he wanted to pursue or that any charges should be pursued here. But Carrie, I think the American people are like, wait a minute, if the shoe was on the other foot, could you imagine if this had been the Trump campaign who had sent information out to, you know, sully the waters as it relates to Hillary Clinton, to make people question her campaign and her motivations? We know how that would have turned out, but what happens? How do we ever get any sort of justice from a situation like this? And how do we really ever trust the FBI? And I agree with you, Stephanie. I have friends who work for the FBI, and most of the people who work there are great people who really want to do the right thing. But when you have people at the top, Carrie, like this, who are politicizing fundamental institutions, where do we go from here? What happens now?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the biggest frustrations I think the average American has, is they hear these stories, which I told you so, you know, we've been all saying this for the last, 2-3 years. And the biggest frustration from the American people is, yes, now what? Now what is going to be done about it? And so there needs to be action taken. One of the first things that I think President Trump needs to do in 2024 when he becomes president again is dismantle the FBI, the DOJ, and to uproot it and completely revamp it, because we're seeing the corruption. And like you both said, we've been saying this for the last 2 years, but what do we do about it now? That's the frustration I keep hearing from the American people.
Yeah.
Will there be justice?
And I mean, unfortunately, I don't think anyone believes that there will be justice. It's just more of the same, because something else that we just learned about was that the CIA in 2020 interfered in some way in our elections. The ex-CIA chief, John Brennan, admitted in 4-hour testimony to the House Intelligence Committee that the letter that was signed by the 51 individuals there in the CIA was political, that this was, of course, to aid the Biden campaign. And in fact, there is an email that came out that talked specifically about this. They said in an email they needed it so quickly so that they could give it to the campaign, particularly during the debate on Thursday, talking points to push back on this against Trump. I mean, our FBI is politicized, Stephanie. Our CIA is politicized. I think at some point it feels to so many of us like we are living in a banana republic. When the Hunter Biden laptop story, we know if people knew it was true, 1 in 6 of them would have changed their votes, and Donald Trump would be the president of the United States right now. Tell me how that is not election interference.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head here. I mean, this is clearly an example of election interference, and you're talking about the CIA, the FBI. But I mean, over the past several years, there's been so many examples of so many of these government agencies being political, whether it be like the health department or the DOJ or anything else. So, I mean, it's truly, truly disturbing. And it only seems to go one way, right? It's not like they're going after Democrats. It usually affects just Republicans and specifically Trump and his inner circle. As for the 51 former CIA agents and FBI agents who signed on to this letter, clearly they eagerly signed on to it to try to take down President Trump. And again, all of us thought this letter, not all of us, most of us, many of us, smart people, thought that this letter was bogus. And it turns out, again, the quotes conspiracy theorists and people spreading fake news were right again. And from a media perspective, sadly, all of this information that we're talking about today, all the revelations, not going to be really talked about on the mainstream media.
Right.
They might give it like a few seconds, 30 seconds, a little blurb. They might not talk about it at all, or they might provide cover for the Biden administration and for some of these agencies. So they'll sweep it on the rug because they're going to be embarrassed that they've been pushing this fake news for so many years. Think of all of them breathlessly reporting on this, being hysterical, calling President Trump Putin's puppet and everything else. I mean, they're embarrassed. They're all part of this. I mean, they all colluded in this.
Yeah, they certainly did. By the way, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper is going to be deposed on May 17th. So we'll see what information we get out of him. But Carrie, these 51 intelligence agents claimed, along with Brennan and Clapper, and they signed a letter that said that the Hunter Biden laptop story had the, quote, classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. And honestly, they went so far out of their way to seek these signatures that they actually reached out to former CIA agents, people who had been gone for quite some time. There's an email that actually shows, I guess there was one of these CIA agents who was having a book published, and he said when the person in charge of reviewing the book called to say it was approved with no changes, I was told about the draft letter. The person asked me if I would be willing to sign. Of course, this person says, I do not recall the person's name or exact date of the phone call. Very convenient how that works out. After hearing the letter's contents and the qualifiers in it, such as we want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement, I agreed to sign it. and he got his wife to sign it too, as former CIA officers. So they reached out to people who had been gone from the agency since 1995 in order to get enough signatures on this thing that it would give it some sort of backbone, that it would give it some sort of credence with people. And they really reached, and we know it swung an election. And what happens now, Carrie, to these people? When do they see their day? Because this shouldn't have happened either.
No, it shouldn't have happened. And this is why they hate President Trump so much, because remember, he came into office promising to drain the filthy swamp. This is the filthy swamp that Donald Trump promised to drain. And so they had to go after him. They were obsessed with him. They still are obsessed with him. They won't stop because he is so important to this country that they have to take him out. This is, they're obsessed with him every single day. You see more and more things that they try to take him out. And then 2 years later, shocker, we see that what we've been saying this whole time, they've been calling us conspiracy theorists are actually right. So they're obsessed with him. They accuse Trump of exactly what they're doing. And I hope the American people wake up and see it for exactly what it is.
They do. They always accuse us on the right of what they're doing on the left. Heck, I recall when, and they're still trying to do it, they're trying to claim that by Donald Trump saying we should peacefully and patriotically make our voices heard on January 6th, that he was trying to overthrow an election. These people actually did it, and they did it twice. And I don't know how we can just turn the other cheek and say, you know what? That's in the past. We're not going to worry about it. They claim, by the way, both the agencies, the FBI and the CIA, that all of these people who were involved have been removed. I mean, do we believe that, Stephanie? Do you believe that the FBI and the CIA is great now? Like it's in great shape? Are you truly confident as an American? Because I'm not.
Absolutely not. And they really have not shown us any evidence of that. And you touched on something that I thought was really important, which is the left. They're really good at projection. So they always try to blame the right for exactly like what they're doing. And as for like the laptop from hell, again, all of us with a few brain cells and honest people were willing to call it out or at least question it. And Hunter Biden never even denied that was his laptop. Right. And it's like somebody would have been very creative if they were coming up with all these inappropriate photos and videos of Hunter Biden being inappropriate with prostitutes and all of these other emails, very incriminating emails. And could you just imagine if that was Eric Trump's laptop from hell or Don Jr.'s? They're always blaming Eric and Don Jr. for all of the things that actually Hunter Biden does. Right. Yeah. So they'll say, oh, Don Jr. is an alcoholic or he does drugs and takes pills and this and that. It's like, well, actually, he's like a sober guy. But
yeah, my brother-in-law doesn't even drink. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but Hunter Biden has photos of doing drugs with prostitutes on the laptop. I mean, my gosh, I posted a video of my kid in the rain and people wanted me to get Child Protective Services called on me. Hunter Biden is smoking crack with hookers, people. Yeah. It's insane.
The reason why it's such an issue, obviously, it's his personal life. And, you know, I think it's terrible what he's doing. But again, we were told to believe that he was qualified enough to help run an energy company, Burisma, and do all of these like foreign deals when he could hardly get his life together. Right. So again, all of that matters. And it matters not just because it's Hunter Biden, but because of the connection to Joe Biden, the president.
Right.
And remember, Joe Biden said Hunter Biden is the smartest man he knows.
Right. Yeah. There it is.
A lot of smart people try to snort Parmesan cheese off the floor. Right.
Well, God, I forgot about that one. That's and I agree with you. Look, I don't like to go out of my way to target people as individuals because we all have, God knows, so much scrutiny on us as a family. And I think it's terrible. But you're right, Stephanie. The point you bring up is that it's bigger than Hunter Biden. If you have someone making questionable judgment calls when it comes to his personal life, when it comes to the information he keeps on his personal laptop, when it comes to leaving a gun in a garbage can near a school, those are problematic whenever this individual is making money off of countries that we consider in many cases to be our adversaries, around the world, and you don't know why he made all of that money. And it leads people back to the only assumption you can make, and now that we know is true in most respects, which is that he was leveraging his father's position in government. And where does that put us as the United States of America on a national security platform? That is really dangerous and upsetting. You can't have any question of anything. And so that's the root of all of this. And just to go back for a second, when it comes to, why it's a problem that you have government agencies politically interfering, so to speak, in an election, look at the consequences. Joe Biden is now president of the United States. Look at how bad off we are as a country. This is the result of people not allowing a free and fair election to take place. You get people in there like Joe Biden. And that brings me to our next topic, which is the southern border, which since Joe Biden has been in office that we know of, we've had 6.5 million people illegally enter the country. And it is probably honestly double that, because those are the ones that we've heard about. I'll tell you what, Carrie, we know that it is a dangerous journey, but it turns out it is actually far worse than any of us even knew. The Post Millennial did a whole article about something called the Darien Gap. This is in Panama, and it's one of the parts of the journey up to our southern border that these illegal immigrants have to take to get to America. And there's video of it. They're crossing this like rapidly running river. They're going up a super steep side of a mountain. They're kids climbing up this. And they say that it's not about if the women get raped, it's just how many times they get raped. It's not just that, it's a dangerous journey. It's that there are people who are murdered along the way. They see people just laid out dead everywhere. There are kidnappings that happen. We know all of this stuff has taken place. And it's so sad because it's sold to the American people by most of the mainstream media and folks on the left as a humane and kind thing that we are allowing illegal immigrants to come into our country.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing humane about this. I mean, I don't know if you heard that story of the little girl that had over 64 DNA of men. I mean, that just brought me to absolute tears. The blood is on the Democrats' hands. It's on Joe Biden's hands. The horrific rapes that are taking place by these cartels and these men are just, it's so heartbreaking. There is nothing compassionate about it at all. And I think the Democrats are being exposed for exactly who they are. And it's so heartbreaking and it's so evil what is going on there. And we have to close our borders. We just have to. I mean, it is insane what's going on right now. I live in a border state here in California, and it is absolutely insane what is going on, and we have to stop it.
Yeah, and I mean, Stephanie, even if you don't care about the illegal immigrants who are making this treacherous journey, and they used to tell you that like a third of the women are raped. All of these women, they say, are raped. There are young girls who are raped, sold into sex slavery. We know that the drug cartels are making most of their money now off of human trafficking, not even off of the fentanyl-laced drugs that are killing the people by 100,000 a year in the United States of America. Even if you don't care about the people who are making that journey, shouldn't they care about our country and the burden that this is putting on our country? There was a hotel in New York, in Orange County, New York, where, you have all these illegal immigrants now being sent to New York City. And Eric Adams has been all up in arms about, well, what do we do? How do we address this? There were veterans in Orange County kicked out of their hotel and replaced by illegal immigrants. Why? Because the veterans were only able to pay, this group that put them there, these homeless veterans, were only able to pay $88 a day for the hotel room. And the city of New York could pay up to $200 a day for the hotel rooms. So they kicked out people who have served our country, our homeless veterans, and put illegal immigrants in these hotel rooms. The toll it's taking on our country and the toll it will take on our country can't even be measured at this point, I don't think.
It's almost like you can't make this stuff up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is America last. And, Americans, we are compassionate people. And I do feel bad for those who are willing to risk their lives to get here, to be in the greatest country in the world. You know, the left, they try to say America's racist and a horrible country and white supremacy is horrible. Yet all of these people from around the world will risk their lives to come here. And you know, this is such a huge topic. Obviously, we can't get to everything that's so important about it. But I did want to weigh in on the women and children being raped along, you know, their journey to America is really devastating. I mean, it truly is. But also, if you look at a lot of the images, it's like military age men coming across the border. It looks like an invasion. And again, how does this help Americans? How is this a net positive? We have an immigration system, one of the most generous immigration systems in the world. And there's a right way to do it. And those of us who speak out against it, we get called racist. My mom is from Jalisco, Mexico. Half my family lives in Mexico. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. You got to go through the process to get here. And so even for us, it's really infuriating what they're doing to the communities, border communities. I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. I lived in Yuma, Arizona for several years when I worked for CBS as a local news reporter and covered the border issues. So, you know, this is an ongoing crisis, but, you know, everyone's like, oh, we need a comprehensive immigration bill and all of this. Well, how about just follow the immigration laws? Like President Trump had very good ideas to make it work. The Democrats tried to make it impossible. There were Republicans who were making it impossible for him. It's really not rocket science. And so, and back to Eric Adams in New York City. Okay, so he said it was a sanctuary city and immigrants are welcome here. But then once they get to the Democrat blue city or blue area, they want to ship them out.
Yep.
I thought that they were embracing everyone. It's a net positive. It's good for everyone. I mean, it's just so hypocritical.
Well, but it shows you why those policies are absolutely ridiculous. And Carrie, I mean, you live in California. It's sanctuary state, right? Like, how's it going there for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really sad because, like Stephanie was saying, you know, I have a lot of friends here who have second homes in Mexico and they're here just on a, you know, green card. And they said they are furious with what's going on in Joe Biden's America, where people are just allowed to come into this country and not have to respect our laws. And he's just welcoming them with open arms. I mean, this is a national emergency, what's going on. And he's not even taking it serious. I mean, if Donald Trump was president right now, he would shut this down so fast our heads would spin. And this is the exact example of weak leadership. This is poor, weak, incompetent leadership by President Joe Biden. And so, you know, we have another many months ahead of us, you know, unfortunately, but we have to get this under control. And this shows you the Democrats do not care, once again, about women or children. They do not care about us at all. We're seeing it. We're seeing women and children raped, trafficked, and Joe Biden does nothing about it.
And they always want to know, well, what is it we should do? This is the nice thing that we want to let them in. Well, they're coming here because they know now is the time. They know we're not following the law. Obviously, Title 42 was lifted, and so now it's like the full floodgates are open, as though it's not been bad enough. And when these people come here, they're supposedly given court dates. I mean, I'm sure the percentage of people who show up for these court dates is maybe like 5%. But there was
I think it's less.
It's probably less than that, right? There was a reporter I saw the other day who was down at the border. She works for Turning Point, and she was talking with people and asking them about their court dates. This one woman was like, "Oh yeah, my court date is in 2027." I mean, it is absurd what is going on down there. And then you have AOC, who famously was down at the border crying about the kids in the cages. And you got to put that in quotes because we know Obama built those and that whole business there. When my father-in-law was in office, I haven't seen her down there crying about any of this, albeit it is just a horrific situation down there. She wants for these people, when they come illegally to America and then go to New York, to be able to get jobs in New York. Talk about incentivizing people even more to come. Here's her tweet. New Yorkers and small businesses have made it clear we are ready to employ our migrant neighbors. Nice, you forgot the word illegal. And our newly arrived New Yorkers have clearly stated that they want to employ themselves safely. Let's get it done. We are asking the federal government to grant us work authorizations. So we have a sitting member of Congress, Stephanie, who's blatantly calling for a disregard totally of the United States Constitution here.
Yeah, I mean, we're either a nation of laws or we're not. And clearly there are some of our lawmakers who don't care about the rule of law. And it is really disappointing. And you talked about Title 42, and this is part of the problem, which, I'm not against Title 42 being eliminated because, why are we still doing this? But then also on the contrary, we still have the CDC and a lot of the Democrats still pushing for people to get boosted and have their little kids boosted and more shots. And I still see people running around with masks. So are we still dealing with COVID-19 and the pandemic? Are we concerned about that or not? Clearly, they are not if they are willing to remove Title 42, and we're going to see the consequences of that. Another thing that's very annoying is that we have Secretary Mayorkas who's trying to gaslight us, saying that the border crossings down by 50%.
Oh my God.
Okay, they're manipulating the numbers. We're not stupid. And the other thing about having AOC coming out and speaking out that illegal immigrants should be able to work here. Well, that is an incentive. That's what brings people
exactly
here. So what about E-Verify? I mean, we've been talking about that for like 15 years, maybe longer. So, people will come here if they think they can have a job and work. And we need to remember why that's a bad thing, right? I mean, having people come and work, not necessarily bad, but if it's going to depress the wages of the American people during a time where we are suffering economically, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. These people aren't looking out for the average American, the people in charge right now.
Yeah. And you know what? The question I get so often from people is people say, well, why? Like, why is this happening? Why are they letting so many people come in here like in this manner? What is the overall goal here? And Carrie, the only thing that I can think is they know in some respect that they are losing their voting base in so many places because they have utterly failed. The Democrat Party has utterly failed the American people. We see it right now when you look around our country, and people are really waking up. People are realizing, man, they are really destroying things, and we're not going to have a country left if we keep down this trajectory like we have been. And so I think a lot of people have had the wool pulled over their eyes a long time. They're waking up. They know they're going to lose their votes. And maybe it's not even 2024, but maybe this is in a decade or so once they finally get it. And I assume the only reason that you would not want to have voter ID laws across this country is so that you could have people, just literally anyone, go up and vote. And I guess they're banking on these people being so indebted to them as a party that they're going to in perpetuity just vote for them. Is that it? Or I can't think of any other reason you would do this to America.
You're exactly right. I think that's exactly what it is. That's why I think it's so funny how you see in Chicago, all those immigrants sent there. There was probably like 500. And how quick did they say, oh, no, we don't want them here. Look at how they sent them to Kamala Harris's house.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want them here. So the hypocrisy of them. Oh, we're so compassionate. Okay, Nancy Pelosi, why don't you open up your doors to these people? AOC, why don't you offer these people a job? Oh, wait, I don't think you've ever had a job outside of, Congress. So, these Democrats are such hypocrites. They don't want them in their cities either. So I love that these red states are sending them to these blue cities and seeing how quick they say, get out of my city. It is, it is just genius that they're doing this. But yeah, I think it's for votes. 100%.
What do you think, Stephanie?
Yeah, it's probably for votes. It's also to appease their donors who have businesses where they hire people for lower wages. So I think it's a combination of that. And there's just other people who are very cynical and would like our nation to self-destruct. Yeah. And when you have complete lawlessness going on, that's going to add to it. So, and we didn't even get to this, the national security aspect of it. We have MS-13 gang members coming through, people from all over the world, bad actors that have actually been caught. Those are the ones who are caught. So we have bad people coming in that we don't know who they are. And what are they going to do? It doesn't take a lot of people to cause catastrophe.
Yeah. And it's not just people coming from South America, Central America, and Mexico. They're coming from countries all over the world. We know that now. And all it takes is one person with bad intentions who's able to pull off something really horrific here in America. And God forbid, I hope we don't see that day But I sadly, I kind of feel like it's just a matter of time. Like we're just like a ticking time bomb here, waiting to explode if we continue in this direction. It's really
and one other thing.
Yeah.
Trump was right again. Do you guys remember before he announced he was running for president? What did he say? They are not sending their best. They are sending rapists, drug lords. They're sending really bad people across the southern border. And look, they attacked him, and he was right. I mean, look at how many years it's been. It's been 5, 6, 7 years since he said that, and we're seeing exactly what he said. So he was right again. Go figure.
There you go.
Just one last thing on the asylum seekers. They're completely taking advantage of the system, sadly. Yeah. And we know that because all of the people that are coming in through Latin America, wouldn't you stop at like the first place, like Mexico, and ask for asylum? So again, these people that are coming through, they have gamed the system. They have cell phones. They have the internet. We have people in America who are providing them with legal assistance to get around the rules, the loopholes, and everything else. And as we pointed out, some bad people coming through. There are hardworking, people who actually want to come to America, the greatest country in the world. I don't blame them. But there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And what we're seeing right now is the wrong way. Has to stop. We need to hear from the president. There needs to be some leadership on this. But again, as I said, they are gaslighting the American people. Yeah,
I feel horrible for these people. They're being sold a false image of what's going to happen on the way here. It's terrible. And I'm sure many of these people are just people who really want to come to America and truly work. But it's not fair. If you cannot apply the law here, how can you expect people to follow the law anywhere else in our country? We have to be a country of laws. We have to be a country of borders. Otherwise, this thing doesn't work in America. It just really doesn't. I'll tell you what, there are often times I think I'd like to go back in time before this was all part of our day-to-day. It turns out there's a guy who's figured out, he's a New Yorker, that you can age in reverse. His name is Chris Mirabile. I think that's right. He's 37, but his biological age, ladies, which means the age of his cells and tissues, is 23. So I was very interested in this, and I'm going to just ask you guys, before I give you his kind of rundown as to like what we should all be doing. Apparently he owns, by the way, a longevity company. It's called Novos. So I'm sure there's like a lot of components to this, but he did give some pointers. But I got to ask you guys, Carrie, is there anything you do that you feel like is helping reverse your biological age? What do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know when I first heard this story, I was like, this is so weird. Honestly, for me, I have been a vegetarian for the last 13 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I love being a vegetarian. I feel like it has given me energy. My hair is long. My nails are long. I honestly think a plant-based diet is the key to health.
Interesting. How do you get your protein? What's your main protein source?
So I get my protein from the same protein that gorillas and horses get their protein from, which is plants.
Oh, wow. This is so interesting. I love it. I didn't know that about you. I guess, like, why would I? It's not like you're like, out there advertising and everything, but that's so interesting.
I did it originally, and I know you're an animal lover, and I did it originally because I'm such an animal lover, and I just made that decision like 13, 14 years ago, and I never looked back. And I honestly feel like if I needed it and if I craved it, then, if I ate it, nothing bad would happen to me. It's not like I'm allergic to it. I just made that decision. I stuck with it. And here I am now. And I feel like I have tons of energy and I, feel healthy. So there you go.
I love it. What about you, Stephanie? What's happening? You doing any age reverse and stuff? I mean, I know you're like about to have a baby in like a week, but go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I read this article and I was kind of a little dubious about his cells are like of the 23-year-old.
Yeah.
He looks great.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. I'm not really sure about the whole science behind it, but his recommendations on how to look good for your age or maybe even look younger for his age is kind of like a no-brainer. I didn't really learn anything from the article. I thought I was going to like learn something really new and exciting, but just the basics, sleeping and eating healthy and working out. Imagine that it could help you live a better lifestyle and feel good and look good. I did do the vegetarian pescatarian thing for I think like 4 or 5 years, and I was in great shape. I don't really do that anymore. I don't eat like tons of meat, but I still eat it and I cook it for my husband. But I think just, the basics: get sleep, exercise, and eat healthy.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's not going to be perfect. And obviously there's other procedures, Botox and fillers and all these other things that people do. And that helps. And then, just having good energy.
Laura?
Well, the thing that got me about this article was the sleep. So this guy sleeps 10 to 11 hours a night.
Wow.
And I'm like, first of all, that's like half your day. Okay. Yeah, clearly this guy doesn't have kids, because the only time I get like free time is, let's say my kids have been in bed for a couple of hours. Eric and I have eaten dinner, and I've gotten the dogs out, and like literally everyone in my house has to be asleep. I'm talking the lunches are ready for the next day. I've got everything ready to go. And I'm like, all right, I get like 20 minutes to just like, watch something I want to watch on TV, whatever it is. But this is at like 11:30 at night. And then I wake up early. I wake up between like 5 and usually 6 a.m., somewhere in that window, sometimes earlier, it depends. But 10 to 11 hours of sleep is a lot. In fact, last night I got like 7.5 hours of sleep. I usually get maybe like 6, I'm guessing, on average. I felt so lethargic and tired this morning. And my mom was here and I was like, I feel like so exhausted. And I think it's because I got too much sleep. So that was very interesting to me. This guy also does one of those things where it's like the intermittent fasting.
Oh.
He only eats between like a certain time. It's only 8 hours a day that he actually eats. And I've heard that can be helpful. I don't know. Interestingly enough, I'm a pescatarian and I have been for like eight years. And it's when I kind of feel like I'm like you, Carrie, where I just was like, one day I was like, I don't really eat that much meat. I'm just going to see like if I ever really want it. And I kind of never did. And when I was pregnant with both my kids, I said, you know what, if it's something that I crave, obviously it's something my body needs and I will eat it. And I never did. And I got, 2 very large, I don't know if they're as large as yours, Stephanie, but very healthy kids. It sounds like yours is coming in hot. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's very interesting. I can't do the sleep. And the other thing that I want to ask you both about, anybody ever done a cold plunge?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I actually have. Kind of. Do you know
how long
that show up in front of some of the gyms? Like I think it was Orange Theory I was going to, and they would bring that like the van that you'd get into some like, I don't know, like steamer thing, but it was like cold.
Oh, the cryotherapy.
Like 80 degrees or something. What's it called?
It's called cryotherapy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've done. It made me feel good at the time. I don't know if it actually did anything for me, but I had done it a few times. But that was like the closest thing I got to a polar plunge.
Yeah, supposedly that will help too. I think you have to do, and the only reason I know this, by the way, is my husband recently started doing this. Because I see it all the time out there on like Instagram, and scrolling through, and all these people are like submerging themselves in like an ice bath. And I'm like, wow, that looks terrible. I tried it like 2 months ago, and I probably lasted 17 seconds. I got in like up to here, and I felt like I was going to hyperventilate, and I was like, I can't do it. I got out, but according to my husband, once you know to expect that and you breathe through it, then most people do somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2 minutes, and they say doing like 11 minutes total a week somehow is supposed to, I don't know if it's like de-aging or something. At what point though, I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it, because it's pure misery for me.
No,
so
I can't do that.
Yeah, it's not really for me.
Did you get energy from it? Because sometimes I would imagine like your adrenaline would get going, and the cold helps with inflammation.
That's
so
true.
I would imagine like it's not going to have like negative effects for you, but it is really hard to get into cold water. As you can see, I have a picture of Lake Coeur d'Alene behind me, and the water, I would argue, is a little too cold to go in most of the summer. I bet it's like 40 degrees right now. It's nice out. It's like 80 degrees today, but the water is still cold. Yeah. And it feels like a polar plunge when I go in.
You know what I think is a really good health trick is eating dinner early. And I know that's hard, But if you could eat dinner like at 5 and then not eat until the next morning, I think that's the best, because it gives your body time to digest. And, a lot of people eat at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. They eat these big.
That's me.
What does that steak do all night? Like, that's disgusting, So I think if we could try to like eat dinner a little earlier, I think that would be better.
God, is this why old people eat dinner really early? They get like acid reflux. Like, it's going to happen. Like, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop with all of it. Like, speaking of aging, it's happening quick. Well, my husband got up to 12 minutes in this thing the other day. And apparently when you get up to 15, your body goes into hypothermia. So I was like, babe, I don't think that was like the smartest thing. He was very proud of it because he beat all the other guys at the gym. So Eric Trump, 12 minutes, write it down. Everybody knows it's something.
Okay, so what is it supposed to do for you? Tell me.
Well, it's de-inflammation of some variety. It's supposed to help boost your metabolism, I believe. And then there's some sort of like cellular level anti-aging properties to it of some variety. And yeah, Stephanie, you mentioned it. I think it does release endorphins. And so like you get out and you feel like real hyped up and whatever. Although like my husband, I saw him yesterday after he got a body bright red everywhere. I was like, how long did you do this? 12 minutes. I hope he never does it again. I thought that was a little excessive.
I wonder what the record is.
Oh, don't tell, whatever you do not tell Eric Trump, because he'll try to beat it. Please.
Well, I'm impressed that you went in. So good job. I haven't gone. Maybe one day I'll do it. I am kind of curious.
Yeah, no, I need to give it another shot because the 17 seconds, I'm tougher than that. I'm going to go again. Now that I know, I'm ready. I've got the knowledge. I've just got to, it's mind over matter. I'm not going 12 minutes, but maybe like one. We'll see.
I think you can do one.
All right. Well, good. Someone has faith in me. Thank you. Well, ladies, thank you for joining us for this episode of The Right View Ladies Tea. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Carrie. At home, of course, as always, please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View. At The Right View, we're very proud of the fact that we are independent. We get to say everything that we think and everything that we feel. We have no woke companies guiding us or telling us what we can and cannot say. We are always going to shoot you straight and give you the facts as we know them. And that's why it's important to support independent outlets like The Right View. My name is Lara Trump, and I think Mike Lindell is a patriot. He is someone who loves this country, is willing to fight for this country. I love MyPillow because not only are MyPillows made in the USA by American workers, but they're great products, and they're so great that not only do I use them in my own bed at night, my children actually requested, my daughter the other day went to the closet and pulled out a MyPillow and said, this is the pillow that I want to sleep with. And I gotta tell you, she loves it and will have nothing to do with any other pillow. So it's a big hit around our house. My dogs also happen to sleep on MyPillow dog beds. So all around the Trump household, we're big fans. If you go to mypillow.com today and use promo code Trump, again, promo code Trump, you will not only save money, but you will help us continue this show and other shows like it and help us continue the fight for the future of America. Inflation has impacted all of our lives. I don't think anyone can go to the gas pump or the grocery store without noticing that it is a major factor. And unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't seem like it's going down in the way that we would like it to. And one way to protect your money is by investing in precious metals, gold and silver. That's always been a great way to make sure that you keep your money and you keep it safe. When you go to bh-pm.com, use promo code Trump. That way, if you decide you want to invest in gold and silver, you'll save yourself a little bit of money. We live in a time that's very interesting. A lot of us out there feel like a lot of our rights are slipping away. And if you're like I am and you want to have the right to choose whether or not to have a vaccine, how to live your life freely, and you're looking for a great doctor, I've heard amazing things about Dr. Sherwood. He's somebody who you should really check out and check into, and it'll help support this program and keep us going. So go to sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. Again, sherwood.tv, and use promo code Trump. You can save yourself some money and help us keep our program going. So I'm like a lot of people. I love to wear an Apple Watch, but I hate how it looks. And I scoured the internet to search for the best looking Apple Watch cases I could find, and I found it. goldandcherry.com. They have absolutely beautiful watches, as you can see here. Everything is waterproof. Everything looks good with different outfits. You can get sporty, you can get fancy, but they are great quality, made out of Delaware in the United States of America. And they have been kind enough to give me a promo code that I can share with you if you want to get your hands on one of these as well. It's Lara T, L-A-R-A-T is the promo code to get yourself a discount at goldandcherry.com. And not only do they make Apple Watch cases, they also make great products for iPads and iPhones, keyboards, your desktop, everything you could possibly need. Goldandcherry.com. Use promo code LaraT so you can get yourself one of these today too.